Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's a roundup episode, and today we've got news to talk about other than Starfield, which I think is all welcome. Okay, Diablo 4, layoffs, a whole bunch of things, even strikes, Final Fantasy 16, and what was the most wishlisted game on Steam has got yet another very bizarre and interesting update. I'll kick it off with Diablo 4. Okay. Time to find out about the schedule of D4 and what Blizzard actually intends for this product in the long run. Okay, there was an interview with Dexerto. Rod Ferguson basically codified what we can expect from this game going forward. This is what Rod said. So, as we look at our quarterly seasons and we look at our annual expansions, those are the things that we're really focused on for our live service. People are wondering, is it yearly expansions? Is it expansions every 2 years? Is it going to be like, say, Diablo 3, where there's one expansion and then, who knows? In this case, one every single year. And I think that versus, say, what Grinding Gear Games are able to do with Path of Exile, this is likely the sort of larger production cycle that would work a little bit better with a team that is the scale of Blizzard's. Because yes, the team working on Diablo 4 really is quite big. Broadly then, this is what we expected, right? A season every single quarter with a plot line, right? A narrative framing that is very much, I want to say, like, secondary, right? It's not the core story of like the Diablo franchise. That's essentially their thing. The next big push for the story is going to be the next expansion, and with a team the size of Blizzard's, I have to imagine that's where most of their resources are going to be going. Now, ideally what this means is that they can exploit parallelization to the max, so they can have an appropriately sized team to manage the very, season to season live service aspect of the game with, more people just kind of airlocked in their happy corner, making the next big expansion. And certainly for me, looking at things right now, I do have a suspicion I'll need to wait for the next expansion for the endgame to actually be interesting to me. Looking at these seasons, they do tweaks and things. All right, and they're pretty good for what they are, but they are kind of small. That's not really enough for me. What I'm going to be needing is an endgame that just has significantly more. One of the things that I've, taken away from Diablo 4 is a deeper understanding of Path of Exile. As an example, its whole system with the maps seems pretty damn incredible. The way that its new season is essentially adding an auto-battler into the game also looks pretty damn incredible. So far, we're not really seeing Blizzard do seasonal updates of that scale. So I've got to wonder then, will the seasonal updates begin to get bigger, or are we more going to be relying on expansions to give us like a really big boost of, earth-shattering changes for the game? That's not all for the Diablo news though, because we've got to talk about your favorite one, Diablo Immortal. Yes, how exciting. So back at Gamescom, Rod basically said that they were a little concerned as a team that 4 would kind of cannibalize the player base of Immortal, and people would, want to go and play the real Diablo. And I suppose you can see their concern considering that Diablo Immortal was playable on PC. Well, turns out that's not really been a worry. Here's what was said. With each beta we did for D4, the more people started playing Immortal. Once Diablo 4 launched, the same thing. Immortal continues to be successful, so we found that because the idea of playing on my couch, in my living room, or at my desk, versus playing on my phone, in the car, or while I'm waiting for my coffee or whatever, there was a place for both games to coexist, and they coexist well. So that's certainly good news for them. I've got to say, though, I can't imagine going into a coffee shop saying, "Hello, I'd like a cappuccino, please," and then I stand aside and start playing Diablo Immortal, looking like an absolute insane psychopath who needs to be stimulated for the 60 to 90 seconds it takes for the coffee to be made. Thoroughly bizarre, but I suppose that's the world we live in, and clearly people do like dropping beans on Diablo Immortal with its insane gacha legendary gems. Next, though, we've got to talk about strike actions, but tell you one thing you can strike off your list, it's checking, oh look, it's the art book for The Pale Beyond, our first video game. Yes, we're also a game studio. If you don't know, you can see the link to our game down below, and if you want to support our team, And in the process, get a nice, beefy, hardback art book. You can check out store.bellular.games. Your support means a great deal indeed, so thank you. And with that said, let's talk about quite an interesting thing going on in the industry. So, in 2022, the Actors Union, SAG-AFTRA, their contract with 9 game companies expired. And this is kind of interesting, you know, contracts expired, let's try to get some better terms. I think quite clearly Bobby thought he could do that with NetEase and co, with World of Warcraft and all the Blizzard games in China, and that didn't happen. As it turned out, a lot of those negative reviews that Overwatch 2 got in Steam, once you actually isolated that to like Mandarin or whatever, it was loads of Chinese users who were pissed off that they had to, you know, use the global version in Steam with the VPN or whatever to play the game because, you know, official Overwatch died in China. Anyway, this is strikes for basically voice actors and performers. And of course, looking through this list, WB Games, Take-Two Productions, Activision, Electronic Arts, right? Those are all pretty major. Now, Take-Two. I think there's been rumors that there's, you know, Red Dead, I guess, 3 is being worked on at the very least. You know, they've got GTA 6. These big titles with a lot of actors. Yeah, if there was a strike, that would be a real pain in the ass. And yes, they probably would just go and recast roles to non-union actors, but of course they'd be worried that that would hurt the product, and it would also take time, which would likely be very annoying. So essentially they are voting on whether strike action is a thing that should happen or not. And so the union that is protecting voice actors and performers has opened negotiations, right? This covers a lot of these massive companies, and what they're basically wanting in terms of their asks are this. Number one, a wage increase, a 11% retroactive one since the contract expired, and then 4% increases yearly. Also, standardized protections against generative AI. So the idea of, take Adam Jensen, you know, want to do some more Adam Jensen. Oh, you gotta, either the actor will have to license his voice, you know, for that purpose, be given informed consent and all of that, or, you know, you can't do it, and I suppose you'll be sued or something like that. And I think this is an interesting thing. I can see, this is a challenge. You can see a use case for this where it's like, all right, hello actor, we want to use a tiny amount of your voice for an advertisement. Here we go. We've already generated it using the Demon Box, and there it is. Could you sign off, you know, on that? I mean, hey, it's your voice at the end of the day. Here's, you know, $500. Away we go. Is that the sort of thing that we'll, I suppose, end up with? It's hard to know. Certainly, though, the impact of generative AI, they are being felt. The amount of, you know, on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, etc., the amount where you are actually seeing loads of faceless channels that are just using 11 Labs, and I see these videos, and they are getting like tens, hundreds of thousands of views. Like, it's actually working. It's kind of crazy stuff. Anyway, so the wage increase, on-camera performers getting a rest for 5 minutes every hour, a medic being present whenever there's hazardous stuff being done, you know, like stunts, a prohibition of stunts on self-taped auditions. So, I suppose it would be a bit weird saying, hey, could you record yourself doing 3 backflips? I don't know, so protections against that. And also vocal stress protections. The idea that you can't ask an actor to just go in and scream for an hour, which I really do think is fair. That stuff can mess up your voice box. I even have to be careful with the amount of words that I speak every week, and this is just like talking into a microphone. Now imagine you've got to do, you know, all those grunts and growls and things. That's really challenging. So, to date, these companies have not given the union any ground in these requests, so rather than just go around in circles, the union leadership are asking their members to give them the ability to call a strike. So this is not saying, hey, we're going on strike, yes or no. This is, can we have the ability to call a strike? Quite interesting. And of course, when you think about a lot of the games going on, massive games from like Activision and Take-Two, a strike would have fairly significant impact on the games that we play. And as an example, you know, of just how much having a good level of performance and a lot of care can, you know, have in terms of impact. Baldur's Gate 3, this is a stunning statistic. Baldur's Gate 3 motion captured 248 voice actors as they gave their performances. You know, like, that's absolutely crazy, and it really does show off in the game. Now, this does not mean that a strike has been called or will be called. This is union members basically having their say on giving authorization, okay? But this is one to watch. We, of course, there's the actors strike, there's the writers strike, there's a lot going on as, industries and technology change, and a lot of people involved in that, they now want to have better terms. I suppose the bit that I would throw in is, yes, these are very public roles, the voice actors, etc. However, games, they're also made in the same way, I suppose, movies are made by, the camera people, the grips, etc., etc. Games made by programmers, made by artists, etc., etc. I would, I just think about that very broadly, like, people talk about, like, great man history. It's like, I wonder, I don't know. I wonder what the balance of that is. What do you think should happen, right? In an instance where, in this case, it, I think, very much in the balance of power, it's not as superstar-led as, say, like some other industries. What do you think on that one? To move on, though, we do have layoffs and closures across the industry. So, Minimi, they have announced their closure. Now, they made Shadow Gambit, The Cursed Crew, and essentially, it was their leadership just being like, listen, we keep on making these strategy role-playing games, and, we go bigger and bigger in scale, and in a way, they just felt like they kind of can't hack it anymore, or, they want something different, so they'd rather quit while they are ahead. And it's always challenging whenever people want to wind down a company. In this case, they're winding it down over a period of time. They've been able to actually give a bonus to their staff and support their staff in making that transition. It really does seem to be the best way that could possibly be done, right? It's actually being done with as much care and humanity as, I suppose, their available funding, etc., allows, and the game will continue to get updates while the studio is being spun down. But it's not all, I guess, relatively, neutral news like that. Blackbird Interactive, they're currently working on Homeworld 3, which I'm very excited for, and Minecraft Legends, which was okay, they co-developed that, but they've had 40 layoffs, right? And Homeworld 3 has been further delayed into 2024. Also, Imaginary Studios seemingly has gotten gutted. So it was founded by Wei Wang in 2020. Now, we'll flash up some art that he did as like a principal artist at Blizzard. You've seen his work before. But yeah, in this situation, they had a team of over like 100 people. Basically, they were working, it seemed, at a AAA scale third-person action adventure. They were acquired by FunPlus, right? Then they had a significant expansion. They had an office in Irvine and Shanghai, over 100 employees. But basically, by the end of August, it seems that according to one former employee, they're just running a skeleton crew. And essentially, it does seem like the whole thing is being wound down. Quite challenging then, 3 years. What is there to show for it? Who knows? I always think about Rob Pardo, who's one of the bigger people at Blizzard, sort of back in the day, and Bonfire Studios, where it's like, we have no idea what Bonfire is doing. And Bonfire's they've been cooking for years and years and years. And the idea that a company like Bonfire could just go kaput, and for everyone, years and years and years of work goes away, certainly is quite rough. So, the day before might not actually end up being called the day before. This is a very bizarre story for a game that has been, odd. I mean, even taking a look at this Survive the Apocalypse thing, usually you would think post-apocalyptic. That's going to mean certain decisions in terms of your art style, your design, things like that. Yet, what they ended up doing with this is seemingly like, imagine, merging The Last of Us, DayZ, The Division, and Grand Theft Auto, where actually, Joel and Ellie have got a supercar. Very, very bizarre situation. Of course, though, this was the most wish-listed game on Steam at some point. I mean, it did have everything that comes together to equal Steam wishlist, right? It's a survival game. A lot of its marketing and stuff, even like the font choices were all very sus. Anyhow, a regular The Day Before coverage provider called Wellplayed have spotted a trademark update from the publisher-developer collaboration of Fantastic the Developer and Matona. Right, this is something that's necessary, though, because as we've covered, it turned out that it was not until the very late stages of game development that they actually thought to check for trademarks for their game's name, and it turned out, it was already nabbed by a calendar app. This led to a very large drama. The game was delisted from Steam. They've spent the intervening months convincing the community that the game isn't dead, and in fact that it does actually exist. And they've published videos showcasing spas and sports cars. which is exactly what I think about when I think of a tense survival situation. Now, though, they may be closer to actually getting back in Steam just in time for their promised November 10th release, which absolutely will happen. I wonder what betting markets would say about that one. So, the trademark has been found, and the trademark is Day World. Yes, from the day before to Day World. The day before, certainly, there's a lot of vibes you get off that of, this kind of gloomy situation. Whereas when I hear Day World, I don't know. I'm thinking of, I suppose Jurassic World didn't exactly have a happy ending for the park, but I'm thinking about theme parks and stuff. Anyhow, the rather unfortunate thing for them is that Day World is actually already in common usage as a series of American published books. There is no trademark on the name currently, but it could lead to struggles down the line if the, if the series publishers decide they want a piece of that pie. Overall then, this thoroughly, absolutely is the day before news update. They really, truly are wacky and unpredictable. One thing that wasn't predictable, though, was this. So, we all saw the announcement of FF16 that said, PlayStation console exclusive, tiny text, also available on PC, right? We all saw that. This is a bit strange because for a while it was as if a certain Yoshi P was pretending that he didn't see that. He pretty much joked, he kind of jokes, he was like, what? PC? Why would you think PC? Buy a PS5 console. It's PS5. That's basically what he said in the lead up. And now we have a message on X, as it's now called. The shocking reveal is that he's actually, for the first time, officially announced that the game will be coming to PC. I suppose saying also available on PC back then just doesn't count. Little bit bizarre, but anyway, they've announced it, so that means that PC is certainly somewhere in that pipeline for us. I have to imagine they always planned to bring it to PC, but they could never really give a date or anything like that because, well, games are kind of hard, and the game itself did struggle from performance issues, so they probably had to put just all of their time into making sure the PS5 release was actually, was actually really good. And thankfully, even though it had some issues, broadly, yeah, it was a pretty great time, and at least the frame rate held up in combat. Anyhow, there's also some major quality of life updates coming, as well as updated outfit options for major characters, as well as a transmog tool for your weapons, and the game will be getting 2 DLCs of some kind, and development has actually started on them. So, there you go. They were quite coy about any plans regarding DLC, but it does seem that the game sold well, it had a very high attachment rate, which is, the number of copies of this game that were sold compared to the number of PS5s out there. And I think to them that just meant like, oh yeah, if you have a PS5, there's a high chance you're buying our game. This is definitely something for us, to invest into the future. So hopefully that actually goes well. So there you go. That is it for today's video. Of course, if you want to support our team and also check out the development process of our game, The Pale Beyond, you can check out our art book and other things on store.bellular.games. Other than that, check out this video next, and I'll be back tomorrow with more news.